Hello, everyone, and welcome back to my channel. I am your Molinda Jae, and I'm here to do a review of the Wakanda Forever movie. Now, I did watch it in opening weekend. As a matter of fact, I watched it Sunday, literally after I got off work, and we caught a night movie. And I have to say, this movie was breathtaking, and there is a lot to unpack. There's a lot of elements within this movie that really caught my eye, and it sends like a subliminal message of what is to come for, just depending on how you portray the movie in your own eyes. But I do need to watch it again because I feel like I have missed some elements in there, but I'm waiting until it appears on Disney Plus. So yeah, Disney Plus, hurry the heck up and putting it on the platform so I can go ahead and rewatch it again. But other than that, let's go ahead and get into it. First things first, the tribute to Chadwick Boseman. May he continue to rest in eternal peace. But the tribute was still breathtaking as well. What I mean by that, instead of the theme song that started any Marvel movie, it was just like silence, because the movie started out with of course, Princess Shuri trying to figure out a cure for her brother's unexpected illness that happened. And what had caught my eye in the midst of her doing that, her brother is ill in another room, and she's in her lab indulging and not only keeping herself busy to not confront what is happening before their eyes in the natural form, but she also, her mother, Queen Ramonda, who is played by Angela Bassett, she had alerted her saying, I feel like it's time for you to come by your brother's bedside. Come by your brother's bedside because it's about to happen. And she's just like, no, I gotta figure out this formula. I need to, help him feel better and stuff like that. I know I can do it. But each time she tried to, input the little gadget in a DNA or AI graphic that is helping her determine where the fault is at or how successful she is, that's when it happened. He passed away, and basically it was just too late for her. And it just, from that couple, I'll say about 5 to 10 minutes of the movie, it just brings back a sense like, even though the inevitable is happening, we eventually have to face it so we can be able to continue to move on. As much as we want to have our input or some type of hand in it in regards to either helping our loved one feel better or helping, or basically, how should I say this, assisting them transition to the other side, just depending on what your mind state of frame is. Again, that just goes to show on we can focus on everything else instead of the inevitable, because we don't want to face it, because death is a topic that a lot of people do not want to discuss, and it's just something that we have to discuss in order for the breakdown, or like the breakdown happening even more to where is going to take generations or probably centuries before a family comes back together. Or it's going, in other words, it's going to take a miracle for a family to come back together. Just depends on how the circumstances is. Okay. But other than that, that's when the movie has started. And like I said, the Marvel series, it will start with a dun 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 dun. Well, this time it didn't start like that because it was a passing that had happened within the movie, and it just reflects of the transition of the character as well as the human being that passed within our time, within real time, and how it's reflect how inspiring it can be and how empowering it can be when it's shown to us in a different light. Like when it came to them burying King Chala, instead of wearing black, they were wearing white. And I was like, it just when you wearing black, it sends you of course it's a form of a mourning color, but at the same time, when the director, Mr. Ryan Coogler, had not only the patrons of the village or the kingdom of Wakanda and the royalty coinciding with the white attire from head to toe, and just letting the casket be black because he was the king and he is the Black Panther, it just switched a whole nother mind frame on how to approach. It just gave further a whole nother perspective. There we go. It just gave a whole nother perspective on how we can address death and how we can give our loved ones the proper burial or the proper send-off, so to speak. And it just allowed me to reflect on how my family had helped a couple of our family members pass over to the other side in the best way, shape, or form, and not be in vain whenever they do pass over, and how we carried ourselves throughout the process. And that's a whole nother video itself. Okay, that's a whole nother video, book, and all that in itself. But it just, like I said, it just put a whole nother perspective of approaching the ending of life, the dancing in the street, because dancing, it just activates that root chakra. I'm getting into my spiritual mode, so bear with me. With people dancing in the street, sending the king to home going, and so forth and so on, is raising the vibration of we are calling upon our ancestors, and we're sending one of our own up there to help guide us, continue and guide and assist us from the spiritual realm, just like they did in the physical realm. That's what it was giving for me at the moment. And also the fashions. Can I say I want all the smoke for all the fashions, please? I want every single last piece of the wardrobe from head to toe. I want all the smoke for the fashions. Whoever were the fashion designers, from makeup artists to the hairstylists to the attire that was worn throughout the movie, especially with the melanated folks, I give y'all 10s across the board, 5s plus 5 stars, and triple double A++. Okay, because I was living for the fashions in this movie. I just as much I was in the first movie, but definitely with the fashions in the second one. Okay, especially when it came to the funeral aspect, the homegoing, wearing the white attire instead of the black attire. Okay. And then also another element when it came to the ending of life process, as I stated before, the guilt of not being there for someone in their last moments, it can cause a slight setback in regards to someone seeing their person in that condition, because a lot of people want to continue to maintain the memory that they have of the person, and just to see them in a condition to where they are fragile and frail. It just, it's hard to get, for some and for most, it is hard to get that out of your head in regards to your recovery from the grieving process. So that's what I got from the first portion before the movie has started, even though the fashions kept giving throughout the whole entire movie. Another aspect that sent signals to my brains and just had my blood boiling at the same time was when it came down to the United Nations coming in and having a little powwow with each other in regards to wanting the vibranium that Wakanda holds and wanting to utilize that in their weaponry to where they can outdo each other and see who has the bigger stick, who has the latest gadgets and mass destruction. And I'm like, see, this is the I be talking about. Like, for us melanated folks, as gifted as we are and as much resources that we do hold, there are people in this realm that tends to get greedy. It just shows and it just eats the greed from how other nations will look at the resource that a nation would have and use that for their own alternative motive. Instead of utilizing it for the greater good, y'all want to use it for y'all alternative mode. And that's that ish I don't like. Okay. So yeah, that was one of the parts that just made my skin crawl, because you have these other nations that wants to use a vital resource for mass destruction and for their own selfish gain. And here you have the people who have the main resource that is using theirs for good. And if they have to use it for mass destruction, they'll use it whenever necessary. That is like the last ultimate result, is when they use that vibranium, and whatever that they do is to defend themselves when necessary. So the fact that Queen Ramonda came in giving what it was supposed to give as the queen she was, telling them folks, we let y'all slide this easily. Don't think our nation is at a weakness because our king died. We still can hold it down. Now we can let you slide with these folks that you came in and tried to invade and steal our resource. But next time it may not be so pretty. So try again, or try me if you want to. That was what Queen Ramonda was giving me at the time. Like, you can try it. You try me once, try again. May not be so pretty. Okay. So that's what was happening for me. And I was like, you better tell them, Queen. You better tell them, because these folks don't know. These folks don't know. And then, so moving on to the third aspect of what caught my eye in this movie was the introduction of another nation. Where did I write that name down? The Talcom nation. Basically, they are the Sea Nation. That's how they were introduced to me. But just the fact that they went on ahead and introduced a whole nother nation besides the Wakanda and the US and all the other greedy nations. It was a breath of fresh air as well. I was receptive to it. So let me share my screen, because there's a lot to unpack with this as well. Okay. So let's see, share, and I'm gonna just minimize this here. So we are being introduced with the Namor character, but his other name is Kukulkan, the feather serpent god. And with this character is also known as the Submariner. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Marner is a fictional character appearing in American comic books published by Marvel Comics, debuting in early 1939. The character was created by writer artist Bill Everett for comic book Pager Funnies Incorporated. And I had the question in my mind too. What does Kukulkan, the feather god serpent, have to do with Black Panther? And according to this article, this is time.com. It says throughout this comics, let me expand this, y'all. It says throughout this comics run, Namor or Kukulkan has spent a lot of time either teaming up or fighting with Black Panther, a true anti-hero. Kukulkan doesn't help and betray, well, doesn't just help and betray the Wakandans. He also is constant allyship or conflict with the Avengers, the Fantastic Four, and yes, the X-Men. So he's just like a rebel in his own little sector. And along with his character being introduced, we also have another character has been introduced as well. And her name is Namora, played by Mabel Cadena. And from what is explained to, well, what is about her? Let's see what is. And her significance in Black Panther is, let's see, here we go. Namora stands out as a new Marvel character who has something to tell. The daughter of a woman from the surface, and the Atlantean man, Aquaria Neptunia, is her given name. She assumes the name Namora in honor of her cousin Namor Mackenzie when her father dies at the hands of the treasure hunt surface dwellers. Aquaria now calls herself Avenging Daughter, which in Atlantean means Namora, like Namor, Avenging Son. She became her cousin's companion, and they share countless adventures. Now, low-key, throughout the movie, I thought let me stop sharing my screen. Now, in the movie, I thought she was like his wife or something like that, because she was giving the way she was, and this is like this for all family members who are very protective of their family members, but to some degree she was giving like baby mama tease, like girl, or like, dude, what is up with you hanging out with these folks? You didn't introduce Princess Shuri to our people and exposing us to the surface world, and now we gotta defend ourselves even more, protect ourselves even more because you done brought this up in here. That's the vibes that she was giving me. She was definitely giving baby mama vibes, or a toxic lover, so to speak. That was just me. Was that me? Was that just me? Comment down in the comment section below. You thought Miss Namora, the Avenging Daughter, was giving baby mama tease when it came to going up to her cousin. Now that I figured out that was her cousin and not her lover, about, exposing Princess Shuri to their people. Okay, so I had to look that up before I even started this review, because I'm like, okay, what is the relationship between her and Kukulkan. Okay, that's what I was asking. But I enjoyed the introduction to not only another nation, I enjoyed the introduction of the new nations, new characters. That way we get a little bit more storylines flowing. And it just, from what I got from that aspect is you can, it shows the adversity and diversity between both nations, and also how one can backstab the other, and it can get to a point where one can spare another one's life or vice versa, and to the point where we can be cool, but you come at me sideways, we gonna be windmilling. All right, so that's what. Oh yeah, and do I talk about this? No, no. Okay, before I even move on, speaking of the Water Nation, the water birth of Kukulkan's mother giving birth to him in the water, because before they built a nation underwater, they used to live above ground while he was in the belly, while this was happening. But above ground, the settlers of this shade was coming to their land and invading their space, their land, by mass destruction using illness, and therefore the shaman had instructed the people, the remaining people, to drink this liquid that is a form that came from the form of the plant that also produces vibranium as well. And of course it caused them to pass out for a short period of time, but afterwards that's when they woke up to needing water. Their skin was blue, so that's what led them to get in the water and start building their civilization there underneath the water. And by that time she was able to have her baby, who is Kukulkan, the first person to be able to be birthed in the water. And I love that scene because that's just one of the experience that one of the things that I want to experience is a water birth, because it is a natural thing, and it can also help bring there are some good qualities, some good benefits in having water births. So I'm going to explore that later on. So yeah. On to the next. Moving right along. So another aspect that came out to me was the introduction of Ironheart, who is played by Dominique Thorne. And again, I see myself in her and Princess Shorty, because they are women, young women of STEM, with science, technology, and engineering, mathematics. Yes, I really, the movie, like, I definitely saw myself in that movie when it came to Ironheart and Princess Shorty, because they were living in their truth regardless of what people were saying. And also when it came to Ironheart's character, it, even though it just showed the dark side of, again, how the other nations was trying to do with vibranium, it showed the dark side of getting into some trouble without even knowing, when you're working with who, the G word. Okay, do I need to write it down? I feel like I gotta write it down. When working with I hope y'all are able to see this, but I'm probably gonna put it on the screen. When you're working with these folks, okay? When you're working with these folks, It can show the downside, the downfall, and the trickery that can happen when you're working with those people, because you're thinking you're doing something and you're definitely getting something in exchange, whether it's monetary or material factor or not. But when something hits the fan and it affects other people in other nations, then they're going to be quick to get down to the root of the issue, which is the person who originated and created the product. Okay, so it shows the downsides on that, but definitely I do like the features in the segment where Princess Shirley asks Ironheart how did she, Tiffany, that was her name in the movie before she created the Ironheart, like the Iron Woman suit. Y'all get what I'm saying. Tiffany was her name before the Ironheart came into fruition towards the end of the movie when they were fighting the folks off. But I do like the aspect of Princess Shirley asked Tiffany at the time, "Hey, how did you started this?" And it was my father. With Tiffany, it was her father taught her, basically allowing her to build whatever she can tinker with. And on the flip side, with Princess Shirley, her brother taught her everything she knew in regards to what is going on with their country. So each of the male figures, you can definitely tell by those two characters that the male figures are very prominent in regards to not only their upbringing, but also just giving them the inspiration and the support to be able to pass down the knowledge whenever an unforeseen circumstance happen. Okay, so I did like that action and that aspect on it, and like I said, I see myself in both of them women up in that movie. And let's see, 5 and 6, this is more like a mixture of, well, this is both. Okay, so the fifth element that came out to me was acknowledging the ancestors. I feel like this movie was a signal for us melanated people to get back in tune to not only ourselves, but also acknowledging, if you haven't done so already, and if you have, continue to do that in your own special way. Even though it may seem taboo and out of the norm for most people, but I kid you not, before all this programming and controlling the narrative stuff happened within our society, that's what they were doing. Before all this technology came into form, that's what they were doing. They were continuing to acknowledging the folks that passed on before them, because if they had because it's showing gratitude, and they have made some decisions. Sure, yeah, they made some decisions in their past that either worked out for them, for you to live a better life, or it didn't work out better for them, but you are able to not worry as much as they did while they were here in the physical realm. And it's just a time to develop your own way to acknowledge them. Develop your own tradition. If you don't have no tradition, it is a great time to establish a tradition and recognizing and acknowledging your ancestors. Okay, so because other nations do it, the Indians do it, the Asians do it, the Latinx community do it, and a lot of melanated nations do it. But when it comes to us American folk here, we are so caught in this bubble. We need to get out of the bubble so we can be able to live in our own true self, so we can be able to create the things that we want to bring in our own space. Okay, also, when it came to the aspect of Queen Ramonda, spoiler alert if you haven't watched it already, when it came to her transcending on because of Kuku Khan invading Wakanda, because he felt like he was backstabbed, because he had told the queen, if I catch her out of my sight, out of my land, back in her land, I'm coming for y'all. And while she was talking to him, that's when Nikita came and rescued Tiffany and Princess Shuri. So when she transcended on, that caused Shuri to again get in a place where she was not able to save her mother, just like she didn't save her brother because of her being, well, she was trapped. Well, not necessarily trapped, but she was kidnapped from in Kuku Khan's possession. And when it came to her brother, she was indulged in work that kept her from being by his bedside and with her mom. It kept with her being away, trying to make sure other people was out of the way for mass destruction to happen by water. Yeah, she wasn't able to save her. So when she was able to recreate the hemp, was it the hemp? Yeah, the hemp heart, the liquid that gives the Black Panther strength, extra strength, or the strength of the Black Panther. That's when she got into the ancestor realm. But this, even though it was the same space where her mother had passed away, it was a whole nother person there. Spoiler alert, it was Killmonger that was in the throne seat, and she was not expecting him. So they had this little tit for tat there. And what I got from that moment is, just as much you wanted to reach somebody, it just depends. It really depends on the time frame and the mindset that you were in to determine which ancestor is going to come for you, right? Because she thought she was going to get her mom. See, my forehead was shiny, but she thought she was going to get her mother in the ancestor realm. But due to the state of the mind that she was in at the time, which led to Killmonger to show up. And basically, whatever he is saying to her is just a mirror effect in that aspect between her and Killmonger. He's telling her, well, she feels like she's been abandoned, and he's telling her, well, why do you feel abandoned? Because I felt abandoned all my life and stuff like that. And that brings the question of, why did Shuri felt abandoned by the ancestors when it came to the loyalty, the nobility versus handling your business? Because that's what Killmonger had explained to her. Just as much as you want to get in touch with the person that you want, right now, this is what you get. And that's basically because of the state of the mind that you're in. Even though you're in this vengeful mode, right? Instead of in a mode to where, and instead of the flip side of the mode where your mind is stable enough to handle a loving ancestor come. Well, right now it's not the time. I'm right here. I'm mirroring what you are going through right now. I'm giving you the tough love that you need in order to press on. So in other words, he was like, is it going to be between loyalty and nobility like your brother and your daddy did, as well as your mama, or is it going to be you handling your business? Basically, that's what he was like. and at that point she made up in her mind she was going to handle her business because of everything that has been taken away from her. You know, her brother passing away unexpectedly from an illness, her mother drowning because of a selfish act that happened on Kukulkan because he felt betrayed, and the list goes on. But at the same time, it is forcing her to break away from the cycle. Don't be afraid to break away from the cycles. Establish your own traditions, handling your own business in the best way, shape, or form. Yes, you can still continue to be noble and loyal to the ones who are loyal and noble to you as well. But at the same time, at one point, are you going to continue to say enough is enough? At what point are you going to say enough is enough and it's time to break away from that pattern so we can be able to stand in our power, handle our stuff and our business so we can be able to either make this money or continue to live upon this physical realm, and with all this hate and agony that is going on. So yeah, like I said, there's a lot to unpack within this movie. As I said before, I have to watch this again to be honest, because y'all, it was talking to me. And as my mom was saying to someone had told my mom this because it was my mom seeing a post about somebody who went to go see Wakanda Forever, because she had made a remark that you have to be mentally ready to watch the movie because it can trigger you to a certain degree. And she is right, because if you're not ready to face the inevitable that is happening, whether it's happening in the movie or surrounding you, then it's time to buckle down. It's time to get grounded so we can be able to go into self-reflection mode, isolation mode, solitude mode, so we can be able to carry on our day-to-day activities and not act a fool or just acting out of impulsive and reaction manner. So yeah, that's all that I have for you guys. Please feel free to leave your comments down below in the comment section on how you feel about this review, or how did you feel after watching the movie, and how many times did you watch the movie? Because my mom had came across a person in the movie theater, and he told her that he watched about 5 times. And I kid you not, whenever that movie shows up on Disney Plus, I will be right behind him watching this movie 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times, because like I said, there are a lot of things to unpack in this movie. And yes, you do have to see it a couple more times just to make sure you ain't missing nothing, because if you blink, you may have missed something. But yeah, feel free to leave your comments down below in the comment section. I feel like I rambled my mouth long enough, and I thank you all for tuning in. Don't forget to like the video if you haven't done so already. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. And don't forget to hit that notification bell so you know the next time I upload a video. And don't forget to follow me on all my social media platforms. They'll be at the end screen below. Just scan the QR code. Or anytime you see the QR code within the video, you already know what to do. Just scan it and just follow me on whatever my platforms. Visit my website, www.honeysoulchildbottega.com. Shop my merchandise, the Soul Child gear. Shop that. I do have a 10% gratuity welcome code available upon you looking around on the website to see what you want to get. I'm trying to figure out if there's something else. No, not really, but oh, always remember to love thyself, know thyself, soothe thyself so you can heal thyself. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.